Here are some of the ways it can happen. 1. We jump to the wrong conclusions. We forget that the person with dementia wants to communicate and has things to say. Instead, we assume that because they didn't say anything, they don't have a view. Because they spoke with anger, they must be angry with us, when in fact they're frustrated about their communication problems. Because they didn't say something nice to us, they don't care about us. 2. We react badly when we find something in the communication unacceptable. Sometimes a person with dementia may express themselves more negatively than we expected, or use words that we don't like to hear. This can be because the words they really needed weren't available, and they had to make do with the ones they could find. The many things they have to deal with are getting in the way of their ability to pay attention to the tone of what they say. It's just not the most important thing for them at that moment. The disease has damaged parts of the brain that usually prevent us using extreme language like swear words and racist terms. In situations like this, there's a risk that we reject the person rather than the things they've said. That will only make things worse. 3. We get frustrated about the communication problems we're facing. We're used to communication running smoothly, so when it doesn't, we can easily feel insecure and unsure what to do. That can lead to frustration. For example, because the person with dementia can't always lay down a memory of a recent event, we may find that they don't know things we expected them to know, or haven't done things they were supposed to do. We have to say the same thing to them more than once, and we can't figure out a way to make it stick in their memory. Or they don't understand what we say. Again, we're desperate to find a way of saying it that will work, but we can't find one. Getting frustrated is understandable, but it doesn't help and often makes things worse. Sometimes we'll feel guilty about being frustrated, and then we have to deal with both negative emotions at once. 4. We get bored or annoyed at hearing the same expressions or stories over and over again. A person with dementia will often home in on a familiar phrase or anecdote and repeat it many times. It's important to remember that these repetitions represent familiarity and security. We need to be tolerant and patient and continue to show interest. 5. We find it hard to see things from the other person's point of view. When communication gets challenging, it's tempting just to dig in and defend our own position. We may feel that the person with dementia isn't trying hard enough to see things from our point of view, and that's why they're making unreasonable demands. We may not be able to fathom how they've come to the opinion or decision that they've expressed. In these situations, we lose touch with our capacity to empathise and see things from a different perspective. We need to find that ability again. Patience, curiosity, and humour can all help. 6. We get tired because of the effort it takes to communicate. Effective communication uses many different aspects of our mind and body. We have to pull together our knowledge, our ideas, and our feelings, and relate them to the words we speak or hear. That's very tiring. It's even more tiring for the person with dementia. Tiredness will tend to make us grumpy, and that can make the communication work even less well. We have to notice when that's happening and acknowledge the need to step back and get things in perspective. Dealing with communication challenges like these means dealing with aspects of ourselves that we don't usually look at. We have to take charge of our emotions, question our basic assumptions, and decide on our priorities. It takes energy, commitment, and courage to do that. We have to be grown up, generous-hearted and practical. And we won't manage it unless we look after ourselves as well as the other person. Finding the situation interesting can be a useful way of putting the negative thoughts and feelings in their place. Communicating effectively can be a project, an experiment. If something goes wrong, it's not a failure, but an interesting challenge. Why didn't that work? What could I have done differently? Seeing communication as a project can enliven us and keep us focused and positive. It opens the way to creativity and stops us taking things too seriously.